Hey guys, this is Lovin Meets with the one and only Sasha Afsh.
Hi, I'm Sasha. We just finished the episode and we spoke about a lot of interesting topics like growing up in America, being a Lebanese Arab woman, how we battled with, an eating disorder, what you can do to help yourself recover from one, the struggles that I face and that we face as a society with social media pressures from comparison to body image. All things engulfing confidence, I guess. So I'd really love for you guys all to listen. Let me know in the DMs. I'm always available to hear and talk to you guys more about these topics.
Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today's guest is Sasha Afsh. In a world dominated by digital perfection, our guest is here to share her unfiltered reality and her journey growing up in Lebanon and the US. She faced the challenges of navigating two cultures, shaping who she is today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're excited to chat.
Well, thank you for being here. But my first question is, you are originally Lebanese, but you grew up in America. And you know what's happening around in Lebanon, and we feel for them. We talk about that all the time. But I just want to ask you, I hope everything is okay in Lebanon and everything's fine.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, it's I can't even just begin to describe the pain that I feel on a day-to-day basis that we all feel. I had one of my relatives' house is completely wiped out, and they were displaced. So it's tough seeing some people so close to you have to leave, and cousins fleeing the country. It's super sad. We're not able to go back at this point, and that's something that I never thought would happen to me. We never think that it would, but to some extent it does feel familiar because we're kind of used to it at this point. So yeah, it's just a day-by-day thing.
I'm so sorry that's happened to your family. It's so scary. We have similar conversations with people in our office going through the same thing, and while I can't empathize or put myself in your shoes, I'm just really sorry that that's happening to your people and your family. You have a very strong voice on social, and you have had for quite some time, and I just want to go back a little bit to what made you feel comfortable starting sharing on social and being open about your journey.
I always wanted to kind of talk to people. I wanted to help. I started off not having a strong enough voice. I was just singing, and that was my way of connecting with my audience. I would do, songs that would cover everything from an eating disorder, self-image, to heartbreak, and kind of this self-love. And little by little, I started becoming comfortable with speaking. And it's led me to this point where, I went on AB Talks. I completely discussed my journey from A to Z. And ever since that came out, I feel way more confident to kind of try to make a difference in the society. Like you said, the digital age is super stressful, I think, to the younger generation. And so I feel it's kind of a duty of mine to step forward and talk more about it.
Well, you moved to the to the US as a child, and you grew up in the US as an Arab. So I am sure that must have been difficult. If you can describe, how was it living as an Arab in the United States?
Yeah, so at first it was super tough adjusting, and I'm going to talk more specifically about when I moved from Beirut to America in 2014, because that was the hardest move. I was turning 12, just entering puberty. It was when I was trying to really develop my self-image, my identity, and it was super hard at first because I wasn't accepted into the community that I was placed in. So I did everything in my power to kind of be someone that I wasn't. From my looks to the way I acted to the way I talked. I had a little bit of an accent. I tried to change that completely. And as soon as I changed all those things about me, I did fit in. There was just a lot that I wasn't telling about myself, my religion, where I come from. I tried to avoid any adversity in terms of, in regards to where I was from. So I just avoided, and I tried to be someone I wasn't. But in doing that, I completely lost who I was. So to be honest, I wasn't really Arab when I was there because I tried so hard not to be. It wasn't until I moved back to the UAE where I realized that, I'm so proud to be Lebanese and I'm so proud to be a Muslim, and I want to be more vocal about that. And then I was able, to go back to America and revisit and be true to who I was, but it took a lot of work to be able to do that and a lot of bravery, I would say.
I'm sure it took bravery, because looking back, you mentioned that at the beginning you didn't fit in. So what did that look like? And if someone is going through the same thing now at 12, 13, you're like, would you have advice for them? Like, is there, because it's not easy not fitting in.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to stand out at that age. Like, do you think going back, is there something you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think the self-talk that I had, the self-limiting beliefs are kind of what made me be someone I wasn't. So if I could go back, or if I could give any advice to the people watching, it would be, if you're struggling with a new environment or you feel you're outcasted in a way, talk to yourself in a way that you would talk to someone that you love. Or imagine yourself as your daughter. How would you want your daughter to feel, going into school or a new environment? So instead of me saying like, oh, I need to be skinnier, or I need to have blonder hair, I would tell myself like, no, this is me, I'm different, and that's a good thing. Whereas back then I would be, oh, this is such a bad thing. So if you reframe your thoughts, it changes your entire reality.
I totally agree. I love self-talk and positive words. At the time, how were your parents supporting you during that journey? Is it conversations that you had?
I think it was also hard for my parents. We were all in a new area. My dad was adjusting to a new job. So it wasn't something that we talked about very frequently, but they did check in quite often, like, how's school going? And my mom would do everything in her power, like her love language is acts of service. So she would make sure we didn't have to overdo anything and just focus on our school, making friends, etc. So it was less about talking, more about doing with my family.
I have watched your recent interview with AB Talks, and you tackled a lot of important topics. Now, while we don't have like an hour to talk about it all, but you shared experiences from like eating disorders, abusive relationships. If you can tell us more about that, like things that you are okay with, of course, tell us about.
Well, because of our time limit, I won't go exactly into everything that I went through and battled with. I want to talk more about what you can do to help yourself if you are in those situations. So one of the main topics was how I struggled with a very bad relationship with food, and how I would not want to eat on certain days, and it led me to fainting at school, trying to lose excessive weight so that I could feel better, trying to please everyone. And the way that I got over it, and it wasn't until May of this year, so May 2024, I was at my lowest with the eating disorders. So I was eating and I was crying while I was eating. And I couldn't believe that I had gone that low, because I had watched it in movies and I had seen how bad some people could get, and where it didn't look like I was emaciated, it still, it felt really, my body was just crying for help. I was sleeping all the time. I was almost like throwing up. So when I realized I was so low, I started trying to be like a sponge of information of how I could help for myself. So whenever I would go on TikTok, instead of liking and commenting and sharing content that would kind of bring me lower and deeper, I would interact with content that was like more uplifting. And through that, I was able to learn, how to talk to yourself. What does positive self-love look like? And in doing that, I found a lot of information about how my body is a vessel and my body works for me, and I should be grateful for that. And so instead of lacking, it was always lacking in nutrition. So instead of trying to suppress, I would try to feed it, because that's what it needed to give me, a better mindset, more energy. And so that's kind of what helped me,
That's so interesting, because we talk about TikTok and how it can have damaging effects, but it feels like it was able to, rather than going down the TikTok negative hole, you went down the positive hole, and it pulled you from a really deep, dark place. Where do you think social media fits in your life now? Because it's so easy for all of us to go down these negative holes. So do you feel strong enough now that you're in a place where that can't happen, or how does social media fit into your life?
So I think that as people, our thoughts are like, they breed our reality. So if you are consuming, and at the end of the day, we're all consumers in every sense of the word, we consume, like I said, we're like sponges. We consume information wherever we look, whatever we do. So if you're going onto social media and you're interacting with things that are gonna pull you deeper into your depression or anxiety, the cycle's gonna continue. But if you choose to use social media to your benefit, and if you see information where it's like tips to eat better, to eat healthier, and you start liking that, you're gonna constantly get more videos like that. So you can actually help yourself. Social media is not all bad. It really depends on how you are using it.
It's amazing.
What would you say to someone who is struggling with mental challenges right now?
I would say surround yourself with people who are gonna challenge you. And if you're surrounded by losers, you're gonna end up being a loser. And you need to have people who are supporting you and putting you in the right mindset. You need to be around people who are not pessimists, who are not having this negative self-talk like we spoke about. And I think it's very, very important to make sure that everything you are speaking out into the world is positive. Because if you say something as simple as, I feel fat today, guess what? Your entire day, you're gonna believe subconsciously that you are fat, and the cycle is just gonna continue. So if you can reframe your thoughts, I'm telling you, everything about your actions, your friends, your family, your relationships, everything will improve.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
One of my personal biggest problems on social media is comparisons. I'm getting, I mentioned this yesterday, I'm getting married soon.
Yeah.
And all I'm consuming on my feed is like these ridiculously like fancy weddings and like fancy engagements and fancy dresses, and it all looks amazing, but I put in that comparison of like, well, mine's not going to look like that. Yeah. You have 15 million likes on TikTok, like you're clearly massive on social media. So do you have tips that you could share as to how I and we could stop comparing ourselves to others online?
So I learned something about jealousy. And I say jealousy because it's a lot like comparison. When you compare, you want something that someone else has. And something about jealousy is that you only feel jealous of someone who you feel you're in competition with. So if I look at you right now and I'm like, oh my God, like she's so beautiful, I just want to be more like her. I'm placing you at this like competition. The truth is we don't have competition with anyone, because our job on earth is to try to be as authentic to ourselves as we can reach. So think of yourself as like a 3 or 4 year old. You didn't give about anything around you. You didn't care what anyone around you was doing. If you wanted to wear an orange dress, the most vibrant orange neon dress, you would do it.
Yeah,
so try to go back to her. This is what I think of. Every day, I'm actually trying my hardest to go back to my 4-year-old self, to try to be more authentic to who she was. So you don't have to compare yourself. You should compare yourself to that little girl. She was free. Everyone around you, and when you look around, and if I'm going to compare myself to you and constantly feel that battle with you, first of all, that doesn't exist. That's in my own mind. And this is why I say it's so important to focus on your self-limiting beliefs and your thought pattern. Because I'm not in competition with you guys. I'm in competition with my little 4-year-old self that was so free.
Sweet.
Wow, I love that. I really do. I'm just going to start to think of my 4-year-old self. I really do love that. But like, I have a question. Do you think, how like TikTok and Instagram, sometimes let's put a filter on like, on for creators. Do you think that still that works, and does it as well like maybe persevere authenticity in a way?
Do you mean filter in the physical sense of a filter, like a face filter?
Yes.
I think try your best never to use filters. There are times where I don't feel great and I want to film, and I'll go put a filter, and then before I post it, I'll be like, why did I do? What is the purpose? We are so afraid of being perceived. That is, in essence, everyone's problem on a day-to-day basis. We're afraid of the public eye. And a more important issue is the generation now. I think, back then it was we were afraid to go out in public and do. But now it's like we're afraid to even make that first step because we're so afraid of what other people think. Now, if you are able to recognize that you're wearing a filter because you are maybe trying to hide who you really are, first of all, would the 4-year-old do that? No. You don't need to hide anything, because at the end of the day, most people are afraid of people seeing them try. not even fail. People are afraid to make that first step. So it's like, as a collective, we should try to never use filters because we don't need it.
And then as well, you kind of like look at your filter self and you start comparing your
Exactly.
self to your filter
to your
self.
filtered
and
self.
it gets kind
Exactly.
of like,
Exactly.
yeah.
I think you become more okay with who you really are, then you will realize that everything about you, from the, you know, maybe I talk a lot about like my nose, because it was something that I didn't like before, and how I thought society now tells you that you need a little button nose. And when I realized that what my nose is what makes me actually most unique, I realized, oh, I'm going to use that to my benefit. This is what makes me different. I don't want to be in a society where we all look the same.
That's true.
100%. We're certainly going down that path. So we are waving the flag for a filter-free world.
100%.
But also on your page, when people come there, either pages, what message do you want them to leave with?
I think I really want to kind of spread this message of authenticity, because at the end of the day, you're only in competition with yourself to be the best version of yourself, the most free person, the free version of yourself. And so if someone is going to take advice from me, or what they would take away from my page, it is, how can you be truest to who you are? Because if you are truest to who you are the happiest version of yourself.
I mean, I really do love that. I mean, I'm just like writing notes all in my head. But of course, you know, all creators and everyone has a vision board. So what is on Sasha's vision board now?
This, like exactly what we're doing here, is something that I want to do every day. So instead of feeling jealous of maybe your job, I'm actually taking notes and I'm admiring the work that you guys have put in. And I think what I would love to do is to talk more and to you know, help young girls and boys who are facing a lot of challenges and the pressure of our very harsh society.
Love that.
Well, you're certainly already doing that through your own channels.
Thank you so much.
If people watching today want to get in touch with you, if they'd like to find you, where is the best place that they can do that? Do you answer your DMs?
Yes, I do. I actually responded to an email in like a full essay format because some girl was going through a lot. So yeah, DM, TikTok, DMs, emails, anything. Really, I'm here.
Thank you so much, Sasha Afsh, for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, Farah.
Thank you, Casey.
And we'll be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.